Uh, it's been up with Aquaperla and such. So I know it's been quite a while that I haven't been in here recording these things. So here's the updates in terms of where I am with the project. So to start off, Aquaperla right now we are still waiting the first check for starting with the project. What I have been doing in the meantime recently is trying to acquire many as much knowledge as I can related to the project. So in terms of material science, I've been digging deep into amorphous materials. I know that crystalline is the more common types of materials out in the real world because if everything was amorphous, everything would break because amorphous materials are like glass, where they have really no structured order. So when you break it, it breaks into tiny little pieces. But with crystalline, it has order. It's structured. Um, the material has structure. It's aligned perfectly, maybe in straight lines or maybe it's diagonal. But most of the time, it's straight lines or in straight pairs of molecules. So that's why it doesn't break into millions of little pieces like glass. Aerogel is amorphous. If you've seen silica aerogel break into smaller pieces, that's of the amorphous structure of its material. So I've been digging deep into material science for amorphous materials and see how I can manipulate or what would be the final properties, because I've been digging more into the chemistry, which tells me what I'm going to get, but I do need to I choose to understand how the chemistry is going to be relevant to its properties in terms of mechanical strength, thermal insulation, absorption, desorption, if it's going to be ion chelation or ion exchange methods, those things. And what I decided to do is do something similar to the nanostorage, which is I'm going to document the process and show everyone this is, if you want to go down this road, I will write everything, or at least the things that I feel comfortable sharing about the thing on Twitter and on Medium, and even here on YouTube, showing what is it exactly that that one needs to do to get here. And it is a lot of work because there is a lot of things that I just put attention onto this. There are things that I've chosen to say I'm going to put this on hold because I want to work on this. So there is a lot of commitment on the individual to make sure that he's going to put in the reps and do it. So I will put the link to the Medium documented series. I finished all the technical information, so all the chemistry, what is going to be the base material, the raw materials, the buffers, the cross linkers, the machines we plan to use to make the material, so that when we present this to potential investors or people angel investors or who would want to give us the first check, it's like around $12,000, $15,000 that we're going to ask for the first year so that we can build out the prototype. And the reason why I decided to do all that chemistry is, one, I also want to mitigate risk of failure, but I do know that failure, I'm open to fail. Failure is learning, and if I do succeed, great. But I know that also the consequence, and also like I didn't want to half-ass it either, because the consequence of this actually working is going to be so much bigger than if I were to just fail. So there is a chance I could fail. But if I succeed, this is game changer. This will cost this is going to cost under $5 US. And for like the 3.1 billion people who work, who live on $2 to $10 a day, that's incredible. They will actually be able to have something that can filter dirty water, and for heavy metal ions, which is a current trend in human activity with mining, with agriculture, with fertilizer, and then with other natural natural activity of heavy metal ions, like what we see in arsenic in Bangladesh. So those things, just taking it all into consideration. And no one forced me to decide that this was going to be my next, my intention or purposes for the next 5-10 years. I'm willing to play the game for a decade. and see what comes out. But I chose this. And also from a bit of personal story, if you read the Medium articles, which I'll put down, that's essentially where my my reasoning and why I chose or why I choose to this and why I'm going to keep choosing to play this game for a decade. That's how long I will commit to playing and see where this ends up taking me. And here are some of the lessons I've learned with all the work I've been putting in, all the rejections from the capitalists saying no thank you, and me not throwing in the towel yet. I want to share those with you. This isn't in no specific order. I just wrote them down before hitting record on this. So take whatever you think is useful. Although I will tell you, just because I tell you it does not mean that you might not find them useful. There has to get to a point where not only do you just hear it, you understand it, and by understanding it, you must have gone through an experience. Because my perspective, well, this is one of them, but my perspective, or your perspective may lack my experience. So I've gone through an experience that makes me say, yeah, this is true. And that's the same thing. One's perspective lacks experience, which also leads me to believe that another one of them is the best problems you can solve are the ones that you have gone through. And one thing that it kind of pisses me off is when some people try and solve problems that they haven't really lived through. It leaves a blocker where you cannot make the solution. Like you can build in a solution, but it won't be the one that people will accept. And the reason why is because the perspective has lacked the experience. So I have lived with facing, like the dirty contaminated water for a certain piece of my life. While I may not be truly aware at the time that, oh yeah, it was actually a bad thing. The fact of, okay, at Pepto-Bismol, I was, I felt like always having to constantly shit and having like feeling like I had a diaper under me, and just like, oh, when is this going to end? And then for like this to happen at where the economy or the money is happening, then yes, I could see where the blockers come in, how this can be fixed, especially if it's directly at source. So I will make a couple more articles explaining, okay, how did the people that we talked to get to this point, and I'll explain that more. But yeah, make intent clear from the beginning. Regret hurts more than rejection. So while yes, that hurt a lot when they were like, yeah, hell nah. Some give us a response and why. And at least I took my chances instead of wondering what if they actually did. And I'm totally okay with that, because as I said, I don't want to die without having tried the things I wanted to do. Let's say if I do become a worker, like a regular ass worker, I would like to at least try what I wanted to try and fail, rather than not try anything, or without even living anything. Even if it means like to succeed, like live, like jump from house to house from some friend and crash on their couch while having to build it. I'm ready to take that on. Because here's the thing: is every generation has its own like battle or war that one will have to face eventually, and be ready to face it. And I suggest to face that battle or that war, whatever you like to call it, before it faces you. And my personal battle right now is I want to build this thing out. And I'm 18 now, so, and I started this at 15 with aerogel. So for me to decide to take the battle on now, where like right now I'm not having to deal with raising kids or a job now. Right now, this is what I'm doing part-time in college. So for me, I'm setting myself up for the big game. Or even like right way before people think that it's okay to do it. I'm just coming out right out the gate. And I know that whatever war this has, it's not necessarily ready for me because I prepared myself for it. But if you don't choose to pick the battle now, it may be a battle that you don't want to face. Like, for example, say you don't figure out, let's say you have a lot of, but you don't want to face that battle. It'll eventually face you to the point where you can't do anything about it and it will kill you. So it's kind of like that. Or where, let's say you have an issue with social media or porn or some shit, and you don't deal with that, it's going to come up to you and the war will come at you. If you already know the deficiencies, face them now before they face you, because at least you're ready. Because when it faces you, you're not ready. It comes out by surprise. And the war is decided by the individual. The war is the mission of the individual. So for me, this was my mission. Everyone's mission is going to be figured out. It's not, and the mission or personal, like the purpose, whatever the goal, it's not going to show up in your face. You kind of just decide, get good at it, and eventually you stick to it because you're so good at it. And the thing is also the waiting game is you got to be patient with things because like nothing great was multiple days. Like extraordinary stuff was just ordinary things compounded to the point where they waited so long that now it's like so big. The point to getting so good, like for me, one thing I've always told myself is if I want to get so good at aerogeels to the point where, you know, like let's say I want to go on a conference stage, but they don't accept me. I want to get so good that people are like, why did you not choose it? Like they're calling the conference out. I don't have to do anything. The people will do it for me because I'm that good. That's gonna take at least a decade to do. But I'm willing to play that game because I love the material. I love where it can take us into the future because the future is the present. The past was built on materials, and so will the future. They'll just be different. They'll just be different. But I want to make sure that I put my little stone on it because right now the present is hindered by whatever our physical things are. Like these are blue glasses, so I don't have any eyesight problems. These are just to mitigate blue light. But if not for these, I probably might not have done the video today because my eyes would have hurt. So, like those things. Who knows what else we can bring up, which I'm also excited about. So, uh, um, so yeah, that one's that one. And then one thing that I was also really thinking about was there are no rules in life. Nothing was ever set in stone. The moral code that we have built or we have edited through all our lives, religions, and maybe values shared, passed down by generations, they have created the boundaries on what really are our choices. So, for example, I don't believe in cannibalism. You probably don't, but there are definitely people out in the world who, cannibalism is that. So it's not like you can't do it, it just is. But whatever nature, whatever moral code or beliefs that you have been passed down, or maybe you have added them by your own experiences, they determine that that's bad or that's not a choice in your choice list or option. It's like being yourself in the hand with a knife. It's This is one of the most important ones for me, at least. The most valuable asset anyone possesses is choice. The second most valuable asset is one's own attention, or where they put their attention to. And the third one is other people. Time does not even make the top 10 because you can't control it. You can't slow down time. You can't reverse it. You can't move it faster. And guess what? You have 24 hours just like me in a day. So big shit. Doesn't matter. And time is independent of what you do or your feelings and whatever. Time is independent. The dependent factors are what your choices are, what you choose. Where do you pay your attention to? And then three, other people. Like who are you giving your attention and your choices to other people? If they're good people, great. If they're not, well, really, because right now in the modern day, all this social media and stuff like that, they're trying to get your attention for you to pay attention to them to eventually give up other assets like people, money, and who else knows what. So don't spill that out. Be selfish with these three. It's okay to be selfish with them. No one tells you that, but it's okay to be selfish because not everyone deserves to hear you, to be with you, or to know you. It's okay. And also just for words, switch the phrase "oh, I have to" or "I got to" "I choose to." Like, no one said you have to. Like, no one said you have to show up to your mom dying in the hospital. You choose to. Because why? There is a reason behind that. Or you don't have to go to work. Or like I have to go to work. No, you choose to. No one said you had to. But there's a consequence for that. You probably don't want the consequence. So you say I have to. One is always two questions or two decisions away from being on the right track that is right for you. And those two questions or decisions is, what do I really want? And then why am I not doing it? The third one is kind of like, okay, go do it. But knowing what you want is hard. Getting what you want is not that hard because at least you got it clarified. You have like a map. So. But you also be willing to see changes in the plan. Nothing's set in stone. But yeah, you're always two decisions, two questions away from whatever you want. Take your own advice because it's the most effective one, because you know yourself. I know myself the best. No one else does. So yeah, if you catch yourself lacking on like things you might have said to yourself, I'm telling you, just take your own advice. I've been there. It's just my 2 cents. Prioritization is more important than time management. Why? Because you're using attention. It's an asset. Time, as I said, it's independent. No one cares. Time doesn't care. Sorry, time doesn't care. But your attention does. So that's why. Write your own personal mission statement and constitution. So like how the US has its own constitution, how every country's got like its own constitution or like laws of what it seems to respect and defend. You should have that one for yourself. What are those values that you will never give up or negotiate with another person? That will definitely help you in making the right choices. Put your attention in other people, which people to invest your time in. Don't keep it in your head because your head is too valuable. Write it somewhere. I know, and this one I'm gonna just a trigger warning, but I'm gonna die, you're gonna die, everyone's gonna die. The people who are going to give two shits about you are the ones that you gave back to, or the ones you helped, not the ones that were, like in your childhood and the ones you, the way you took or stuff. It's who you helped deeply. So don't expect like don't expect like the ones that you expect to be at your funeral might not be the ones. There'll be different ones. But yeah. Perspectives can lack experience. That was what I mentioned a bit earlier. Sorry that went off in that direction. But another one is we call it confidence. We call it the word confidence, where we say, yeah, I got confidence in this, or I'm confident. This is because it has not happened yet. So confidence is basically a belief, but with no data to prove the specific result. But when it happens, it's just facts. Yeah, that is that. Define the words that you use on a daily basis. I'd say define whatever you like to say. For example, first principles. I don't like using that word. It's oversaturated, doesn't fit with me anymore. And like when I cuss, for example, it's not that I'm like mad or anything. For me, cussing is a way of, it means one or two things. I'm mad or I care. Most of the time I care. If I'm mad, you'll see me mad. So that's that. Here's one for the future. Watch The Matrix. It's a movie, the first one, before it gets banned in the next decade. It shows and show it to your kids before it does. Why it's going to show what it does to the future. Right now, if the if the asset, the most important asset in the economy is human attention, I'm willing to bet by the next 50 years, the next century, it's going to be human choices. We're going to have them taken away from us, literally. And that's way more powerful when you have the choice or the options to do whatever you want, and now you just wipe them out. You're just slave. Some people are already slaves because they're already wasting their money on stupid things because they put attention to it initially, and now they're stuck in this cycle. So I would say, yeah, watch it. Watch it, and watch it like if it was the Bible. Swear to God. It's not the outcome, it's your attitude that determines the final score at the end of the day. I could have given up when the VC said no, but here I am. Like, I'm still here. I'm still giving it my all. I'm still learning so I can eventually land the bag and, secure it. So the attitude is, what's going to give me the final score. And I think I'm like 1 or 2 weeks away. I feel it. So I'm going to keep going. And it's not, and I know what I want. So when a new opportunity shows up in life, it's not actually an opportunity. That's just a distraction. Because it's basically saying, give up this for this. I'm like, no, that's one of my things. I finish what I start. So I'm not going to give it up for something. Unless it was like the only exceptions is, let's say my dad almost didn't die. Like something that serious, I would definitely, make the switch, but there's nothing terrible like that. I'm privileged to say that there's nothing terrible going on. So that's why I can keep going on this. And the currency with people is trust for memories. So trust is one of the most important, I guess, values for many people is just trust your family and relationships and all that. But then you also exchange it for like good memories that sometimes you could think back on, where you have those feelings of where people understand you, where you feel loved, all those things. And one caveat, or one thing that I feel like I'm deficient in right now, is I'm currently craving for a community of technical people that I wish I would have. TKS is one of the best, not gonna lie. I definitely recommend it for like curious, nerdy teenagers. So if you're a teenager watching this, I know you're an exception. So definitely apply TKS. Throw a link down in description box if you actually get through this far. Right now I'm trying to seek like bigger community of like material science teenage nerds. So if you're one of them, like write a comment here. I'll see if I can hook you up with something. Because I definitely want to build a community of these people who think with similar values. But it also makes me think, if I were in such a community like this, would I still be in contact with friends with I have already established a bond, but now with a mass amount of these people, it's almost as if I can't decide. When there's less materials or less resources, you just take more action. I've noticed that. But when you have more assets, more materials, more resources, you don't really do that much. You kind of just stand there because it's the paradox of choice. What do I pick? So it's also like a paradox that I have is I could, but what if but I feel like I may not be doing that much. So I think right now I'm good in terms of just keeping it with the way it is, just having like 5 or 6 people who think the same way, but just build that strong, tight ass not community, and then maybe extending out. So I think that's for where I am. Although that's just something we'll eventually think of. Because I do want to make like the world like I want to make my world like if it was like a little playground where I could go to a country and be like, oh yeah, it's like a college. It's like a college lunch table where everyone's trying to meet each other. Something like that. That'd be sick. But as of right now, I am a focused man. I got my mission, so there are things I'm willing. I choose to put them on pause because I got them bigger for me. And so yeah, I'll probably make these like more. I'll try and make them more often. I will not promise anything because I do not like making promises um that I break, especially not to myself, because this is a promise for myself. So I don't want to break anything. But I will attempt to make one, uh, 2 videos per month. Try that. Um, but I feel like I am right around the corner to get the first check, and I'll if that does when the check happens, I will share you what I've been thinking from the start to the finish of like from the start of making the idea to the day of the check. So you can all see what needs to happen or what normally happens to get to a point where you want to bring your idea into the world. So because I feel it's important to document the process. Not many people have done it, so I want to be one of the people who has the opportunity and privilege to do so. So I'll catch you all in 2-3 weeks. So see y'all.